Is Baktash secretly in love with his lifelong friend? Everyone thought they had the story figured out, but the truth may be far more surprising and so much closer than anyone expected. Welcome to Secrets Behind the Stars. Before we dive in, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the clues hiding in plain sight. Today, we're unpacking a rumor that didn't just nudge the conversation around Barış's love life, it flipped the table entirely. Social media had one version of events, but a quiet, persistent whisper has turned into a wave. All eyes are shifting toward the name that's been right next to him for years, Yağmur Yüksel. In the buzzing world of celebrity talk, one detail sparks a thread that unravels everything. At first, the chatter was about Barış appearing at similar places and similar hours as a popular lifestyle figure, creating a classic internet narrative. Same city. Matching views from hotel balconies. Warm-toned dinners with the same kind of table setting. For digital detectives, this was an instant love story in the making. New romance, the captions said. Short videos multiplied, theories piled up, and 1,000 timelines were drafted. Yet, almost as quickly as the rumor took off, it was shut down by voices very close to the situation. The word was simple: there's no relationship there. Sources murmured that the influencer in question was bothered by the speculation and told friends, "We barely know each other." And that's exactly when the conversation pivoted. Because while everyone was looking outward, the real energy seemed to be circling inward, to the person people forgot to question because she's always been there. Not just a familiar face. Not just a supportive presence. But someone whose life and rhythms have long run parallel to his, Yağmur Yüksel. Suddenly the story wasn't about coincidence anymore. It was about timing, warmth, and a quiet loyalty that has weathered storms. Think about it. The subtle signs were never flashy, because that's not their style. It was the small alignments that looked like accidents until they started repeating. Appearing at the same private events without posing together. Sharing songs with lyrics that land like underlined notes. Posting 5 minutes apart, with similar light, similar mood. A shadow in one story that looked a lot like a jacket scene in another. Heart reactions that came too quickly and too consistently to be random. The quiet choice to be in the same group photos, but different frames. Nothing direct enough to scream, "We're together," yet everything precise enough to whisper that something deeper might be taking shape. Those whispers got louder when people began to notice that the two of them, despite being around each other for years, seemed especially connected lately. Friends of both say the same thing in different words: they understand each other. They've shown up during the hard days as if on instinct. They don't rush to define what doesn't need public definition. And that's where this rumor differs from the usual waves of gossip. It isn't built on spectacle. It's built on history. There's also a notable shift in tone around both of them. Barış has hinted in interviews that he's trimming the noise from his life, keeping only the people who truly get him. No dramatic speeches, just a new discipline in what he shares and who he spends time with. Meanwhile, Yağmur has been glowing in posts that feel like a fresh chapter, less curated for applause, more grounded in her own rhythm. Captions about living in the present. Photos with friends where she looks settled, content, and utterly herself. If you look closely, the way their separate choices fit together feels like two stories quietly becoming one. Of course, there's the question everyone asks when a switch like this happens: coincidence or careful navigation? Was their closeness always like this, and we simply didn't notice? Or did something shift recently, turning a decades-old comfort into something tender? In their inner circles, the phrases are cryptic but consistent: they've always been good to each other, the kind of careful that keeps a bond safe from chaos. They know the cost of letting strangers define them. They know when to stay silent. And if they are stepping into love, they're doing it without a parade. Another detail: those who expected prompt denials didn't get them. No press-ready lines. No, "we're just friends" bookmark. And that silence, more than anything, is what set the internet on fire. Silence can be strategy, or respect, or the safest way to protect something that's still forming. People who dismiss the rumor point to the lack of concrete proof. People who believe it say silence is the strongest proof of all. Either way, the conversation is no longer about a random fling. It's about the possibility of devotion that grew in the shade, not the spotlight. To understand why the idea of Barış and Yağmur together feels so electric, you have to consider the shape of their public selves. He has always had that careful balance, charismatic and open when it comes to work, private and precise when it comes to love. He's been here long enough to know attention can swallow a relationship whole. He's learned to draw a line without daring you to cross it. She, on the other hand, navigates the public eye with a calm that reads mature, even when the glare is relentless. When she posts, there's a sense of authorship over her life. She chooses what and when. She knows the weight of a caption, the warmth of a particular angle, the power of leaving something unsaid. There were also the sightings that never became headlines, only whispers. Dinners with mutual friends where they arrived separately but left with the same laughter. Shared rides. Maybe, maybe not, because the only proof was the same dashboard detail seen at different hours. Eye contact caught in someone else's story, untagged but unmistakable. Nights when they were in the same room and didn't try to manufacture a moment for the cameras. It didn't feel like hiding. It felt like protecting something soft. In gossip circles, the debate took on two camps. One side insists the relationship is already real, intentionally kept off-grid until they're ready. The other side calls it projection, reading friendship as romance because the narrative is too satisfying to resist, friends becoming lovers, trust blooming into something luminous. And yet, the pattern refuses to fade. The more casually they behave, the more carefully the puzzle pieces seem to land. There's a theory about timing that keeps coming up: transformation brings clarity. Both of them have been defining new eras in their lives, shifting priorities, decluttering. When you strip away the noise, sometimes the person who was supposed to be there becomes impossible to miss. People close to them won't confirm anything, but they won't dismiss it either. The phrases are oddly poetic, things like, "they're in sync," and "they're good for each other," and "they don't rush." No one tells a story outright, but no one shuts it down. It's like we're all listening at the door for the music to get just a little louder. What keeps this from being just another tabloid loop is the texture of it. This isn't a headline about shock, scandal, or a sudden pivot. It's a pulse. The idea that real love sometimes starts in the most ordinary places, with the most familiar person, over a long time. If that's what this is, and that's what many are whispering, then it makes sense that we're not seeing grand gestures. We're seeing care. We're seeing patience. We're seeing two people who might be building something they don't want the world to chew apart before it's ready to stand. Look closely and you'll notice that even their setbacks seem to hold them closer. When he deals with the weight of expectation, she's the steady point. When she faces the pressure of every move being examined, he's the shelter. There's a softness to the way their public lives have started to echo each other, similar silences, matching edges. It feels like a private language. And then there is the practical side, the way attention recalibrates everything. If you've ever watched a public romance get swallowed, you know how fast it happens. That's why the lack of a definitional post makes sense. That's why there are no paired captions, no coordinated reveals. Two people who respect what they have would rather honor it quietly than inflate it with confirmation they can't take back. Which raises the biggest question of all. If there were nothing to this, wouldn't we have a clear, flat denial by now? They both know how to end a rumor. A single sentence would do it. Instead, we get a careful silence, and silence like this isn't empty. It's full of choices. It's full of boundaries. Maybe it's full of love. So where does that leave us? On the edge of a reveal, perhaps. Gossip columnists are watching for that one photo, the one that isn't cropped, the one that lets the air out of the guessing game. A candid over coffee. A hand on a shoulder. A look you can't pretend was for the camera. Or maybe it will arrive as an understated line in an interview, with no fanfare at all: "We're happy. We're good. We're taking our time." Because if this is what it seems, it won't need a spectacle. It'll be undeniable in its quietness. Until then, the earlier rumor, the one that circled the wrong person, has faded like a misread sign. The conversation has moved. The glow is different now. It's warmer, closer, less performative. The question isn't whether Barış has someone in his life. It's whether the someone he's always had might be the one he's chosen now. And that's the story people can't stop talking about. Maybe this is how it starts, not with fireworks, but with a soft continuity that becomes devotion almost without noticing. Maybe it isn't a twist at all. Maybe it's the most obvious ending to a story that's been writing itself for years. If you've been watching them, really watching them, you can feel the shift. You can feel how often their timelines rhyme. You can feel how the space between them is closing in a way that looks like home. What we know for sure is that none of this feels random. The way he speaks about trust. The way she speaks about living on her own terms. The long glances in crowded rooms. The care with which they avoid feeding the circus. The hints are small, but they multiply in a pattern that stories like this usually leave behind. A pattern of restraint. A pattern of grace. So, is there truly a love story unfolding between Barış Baktaş and Yağmur Yüksel? If there is, it looks nothing like the noisy romances we've seen before. It looks like two people writing a chapter at their own pace, in their own handwriting, with margins wide enough to breathe. What a radical thing, to love in that way in front of us, without giving us everything. What a quiet thunder. Tell me what you think. Are we reading too much into the details, or are the details finally reading themselves to us? Has friendship turned into something deeper, or have they been protecting a love that began long ago? Drop your thoughts in the comments and keep your eyes open, because when a story like this decides to show itself, it won't arrive with noise. It will arrive with certainty. We'll be watching, and we'll bring you every new glimmer, right here on Secrets Behind the Stars. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and ring the bell, because in this universe, truths hide in the smallest frames and the quietest pauses. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and may the next chapter bring clarity. Happy New Year.